I am Natasha, your host for today. If you are new here, I want to let you know that we upload new English learning videos every single day to help you improve your English faster and more effectively. In today's episode, you are not only going to build your English vocabulary, but also learn how to use advanced words naturally in daily life conversations. This is a special English vocabulary practice masterclass where we will explore useful advanced words step by step, and I'll show you how to bring them into your real speaking practice. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to use new vocabulary in conversations confidently, understand how these words are used by fluent speakers, and apply them in your daily life so you can reach a higher level of English fluency. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to the channel and also press the bell icon if you'd like more helpful English learning lessons like this. So, grab a pen and paper and let's get started. Now, let's begin with our first set of advanced words. The first word I want to introduce to you is meticulous. This word means showing great attention to detail, being very careful and precise. For example, you could say, "She is very meticulous about her work, checking every small mistake before submitting it. Try repeating after me slowly." Meticulous. Again. Meticulous. Now use it in a sentence with me. I am meticulous when I prepare for an important meeting. Excellent. The second word is versatile. This means someone or something that is flexible and can be used in many different ways. For instance, English is a versatile language because you can use it in business, travel, and entertainment. Or, my friend is very versatile. She can cook, paint, and play the piano. Repeat with me. Versatile. Good. Again. Versatile. Now use it in your own sentence. I want to be a versatile English speaker. Great job. The third word for today is inevitable. This means something that is certain to happen and cannot be avoided. For example, if you keep practicing English every day, improvement is inevitable. Or, it was inevitable that technology would change the way we communicate. Say it with me. Inevitable. Once more, inevitable. Now, in a sentence. Making mistakes is inevitable when you learn a new language. Excellent practice. Let's pause here for a short reflection. Notice how each of these words, meticulous, versatile, and inevitable, can be connected to daily life. Think about your own life and try to use each of these words when describing something about yourself, your work, or your studies. The more personal your examples are, the easier it will be to remember them. Another powerful word that will help you sound more advanced in English is resilient. Resilient means able to recover quickly from difficulties, challenges, or tough situations. For example, even after facing many failures, she remained resilient and kept working toward her goals. Or, learning English requires a resilient attitude because sometimes you will feel frustrated, but you must continue. Repeat after me. Resilient. Once more. Resilient. Now try it in your own sentence. I am resilient when I face problems at work. Very good. The next word is articulate. This word describes someone who can express ideas clearly and effectively. For example, he is an articulate speaker who explains difficult topics in a simple way. Or, I wait and to become more articulate when I speak English. Say it with me. Articulate, again, articulate. Now in a sentence. She is articulate and confident in meetings. Excellent. Now let's look at alleviate. This is a very useful advanced word that means to reduce or make something less severe. For example, taking a short walk can alleviate stress, or learning English with a friend can alleviate the pressure of studying alone. Repeat after me. Alleviate. Once more. Alleviate. Now in a sentence. Listening to music alleviates my anxiety. Perfect. Let's practice these words together in a small exercise. Imagine you are talking to a friend about learning English. You can say, "Learning English can sometimes feel stressful, but I try to stay resilient. I also want to be articulate. When I share my ideas, watching fun videos alleviates the stress and keeps me motivated." Did you notice how resilient, articulate, and alleviate fit smoothly into daily life conversations? This is how you train your brain to use advanced vocabulary naturally. Now let's move on. Another great word is proficient. This means being skilled and competent in something. For example, she is proficient in both English and Spanish. Or, I want to be proficient in using English at work. Say it with me. Proficient. Again. Proficient. Now, in a sentence, he is proficient in computer programming and English communication. Very good. Next is ambiguous. This means something that is unclear or has more than one possible meaning. For example, the question was ambiguous, so I wasn't sure how to answer. Or, sometimes English words are ambiguous and depend on context. Say it with me. Ambiguous. Again, ambiguous. Now in a sentence. The directions were ambiguous, and I got lost. Excellent. One more useful word is empathy. Empathy means the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. For example, good friends show empathy when you are sad. Or, teachers need empathy to understand their students' struggles. Repeat after me, empathy. Once more, empathy. Now in a sentence. I try to show empathy when someone is upset. Great practice. Let's create a mini conversation using these words. Imagine two friends talking. One says, I want to be proficient in English, but sometimes the grammar feels ambiguous. Still, I know being resilient will help me improve. Having a teacher with empathy also alleviates my stress. And one day, I hope to be articulate in every conversation. This type of practice makes the words stick in your memory because you're not only hearing the word, you're using it in realistic situations. The next word I want to share with you is contemplate. This means to think deeply about something, often for a long time. For example, before making a big decision, she likes to contemplate all the possibilities. Or, I often contemplate how to improve my English learning methods. Say it with me. Contemplate. Once more. Contemplate. Now in a sentence. He sat quietly to contemplate his future. Excellent. Now let's try diligent. Diligent describes someone who works very hard and puts consistent effort into what they do. For example, she is a diligent student who studies every day. Or, if you are diligent in practicing English, you will definitely improve. Repeat after me. Diligent. Again. Diligent. Now use it in your own sentence. I am diligent when I learn new vocabulary. Very good. Another strong word is eloquent. This means someone who speaks or writes in a very clear, persuasive, and powerful way. For example, the professor gave an eloquent speech that inspired the students. Or, I want to become eloquent when I express my opinions in English. Say it with me. Eloquent. Again. Eloquent. Now in a sentence. She is eloquent when she speaks about her passion. Excellent practice. Let's also look at reluctant. This word means unwilling or hesitant to do something. For example, he was reluctant to join the meeting because he wasn't prepared. Or, I sometimes feel reluctant to speak English because I'm afraid of mistakes. Repeat after me. Reluctant. Once more. Reluctant. Now in a sentence. She was reluctant to try the new food. Very good. Another useful advanced word is scrutinize. This means to examine something very carefully and in detail. For example, the manager scrutinized the report before approving it. Or, when you learn a new word, scrutinize how native speakers use it in different contexts. Say it with me. Scrutinize. Again. Scrutinize. Now in a sentence, I scrutinize my essays before submitting them. Excellent. Let's practice these words together in a short exercise. Imagine you are explaining your learning process. You might say, I like to contemplate new ways to study. I stay diligent by practicing every day. I hope to be eloquent when I speak. Sometimes I feel reluctant, but I keep going. I also scrutinize my mistakes carefully so I can improve. Did you notice how natural it feels to use these words when you create sentences from your own life? That's the secret to remembering advanced vocabulary. You must connect it directly to your experiences. Now let's go further. Another advanced word is persevere. This means to continue trying even when things are difficult. For example, she had to persevere through many challenges to achieve success. Or, if you persevere in your English practice, you will definitely improve over time. Say it with me. Persevere. Again, persevere. Now, in a sentence, I will persevere even when English feels hard. Very good. Next is candid. This means being honest, open, and straightforward. For example, he was candid about his mistakes and wanted to improve. Or, I appreciate candid feedback because it helps me grow. Say it with me. Candid. Again, candid. Now in a sentence, she gave a candid opinion about the project. Excellent. And another important one, exuberant. This means full of energy, excitement, and enthusiasm. For example, the children were exuberant after winning the game. Or, She felt exuberant when she finally passed her English exam. Repeat after me. Exuberant. Once more. Exuberant. Now in a sentence. He was exuberant at the party. Wonderful. Here's a quick role-play practice. Imagine you are talking about your journey with English learning. You might say, I have to persevere every day, even when I feel reluctant. I try to be candid with myself about my weaknesses, and I stay exuberant because learning English brings me joy. This way, vocabulary practice feels more like real conversation and not just memorization. The next advanced word I want you to learn is astute. This describes someone who is clever and able to notice and understand things quickly. For example, she is an astute businesswoman who makes smart decisions. Or, you must be astute when listening to English speakers so you can catch small details. Say it with me. Astute. Again. Astute. Now, in a sentence, he gave an astute observation during the discussion. Excellent. Now let's move to benevolent. This means kind, generous, and wanting to help others. For example, he was a benevolent teacher who always cared about his students. Or, speaking kindly to yourself is a benevolent habit when you are learning English. Repeat after me. Benevolent. Once more. Benevolent. Now in a sentence. The organization is benevolent and supports poor families. Wonderful. Another useful word is concur. This means to agree with someone or share the same opinion. For example, I concur with your idea about starting early. Or, most experts concur that practice is the key to fluency. Say it with me. Concur. Again. Concur. Now, in a sentence, I concur that daily speaking practice is important. Very good. Let's practice these 3 words in a mini dialogue. Imagine someone says, I think practicing English for 15 minutes daily can help. You can reply, I concur. That is an astute idea. Only a benevolent teacher would remind students to keep their practice short but consistent. See how natural it feels when you connect the words? The next advanced word is cynical. This describes someone who often doubts other people's intentions or believes people act only for selfish reasons. For example, he was cynical about politicians. Or, don't be too cynical about your progress. Trust yourself. Say it with me. Cynical. Again. Cynical. Now, in a sentence, she felt cynical about promises that were never kept. Good job. Now, let's explore daunting. This means something that seems very difficult or intimidating. For example, speaking English in public can feel daunting at first, or climbing a mountain is a daunting challenge. Say it with me. Daunting. Again. Daunting. Now in a sentence, preparing for an English exam felt daunting, but I did it. Excellent. Another important word is eclectic. This describes something made up of a wide variety of styles, ideas, or sources. For example, she has an eclectic taste in music. Or, you should build an eclectic vocabulary by learning words from books, movies, and conversations. Repeat after me. Eclectic. Once more. Eclectic. Now, in a sentence, his bookshelf was eclectic, filled with novels, science books, and poetry. Perfect. Let's combine these words in practice. You can say, at first, learning new vocabulary felt daunting, but I realized an eclectic approach, mixing books, videos, and conversations, made it easier. Sometimes people can be cynical and say it's too hard, but I concur with teachers who remind us to persevere. I think it's astute to remember that learning English is a journey, and being benevolent to yourself makes it enjoyable. Do you feel how much more advanced your sentences sound now? This is exactly what advanced English practice should feel like: natural, personal, and powerful. Now let's keep going. Another advanced word is formidable. This describes something or someone that inspires fear, respect, or is extremely impressive. For example, the team faced a formidable opponent in the championship. Or, English may feel like a formidable challenge, but it's possible to overcome it. Say it with me. Formidable. Again, formidable. Now, in a sentence, she is a formidable leader with strong skills. Great. Next is lucid. This means clear and easy to understand. For example, the teacher gave a lucid explanation of grammar. Or, I need to make my ideas more lucid in English conversations. Repeat after me. Lucid. Once more, lucid. Now in a sentence, the instructions were lucid and easy to follow. Excellent. And finally, let's look at metaphor. This is an advanced vocabulary word often used in literature and conversation to describe something by comparing it to something else. For example, time is a thief is a metaphor, meaning time takes things away like a thief. Or, in English, we often use metaphors in daily conversation. Say it with me. Metaphor. Again. Metaphor. Now, in a sentence, the poet used a metaphor to describe love. Wonderful. Here's a short exercise. Learning English is a journey. Sometimes it feels daunting and formidable, but when teachers give lucid explanations, things become clear. Using metaphors makes English more beautiful and expressive. And when you add eclectic resources to your study, you will always find something new. The next word I want to introduce is notorious. This word means being famous for something negative or bad. For example, the street is notorious for traffic jams. Or, he is notorious for arriving late to meetings. Say it with me. Notorious. Again, notorious. Now in a sentence, that restaurant is notorious for its slow service. Very good. Now let's learn plausible. This means something that seems reasonable or believable. For example, it's plausible that you can reach fluency if you practice daily. Or, her explanation was plausible, but I wasn't fully convinced. Repeat after me. Plausible. Once more. Plausible. Now, in a sentence, it's plausible that the train will be delayed. Excellent. Another advanced word is scrupulous. This describes someone who is very careful, honest, and does things with a strong sense of right and wrong. For example, the lawyer was scrupulous in her preparation. Or, be scrupulous when you check your English writing so you don't miss mistakes. Say it with me. Scrupulous. Again, scrupulous. Now in a sentence, he is scrupulous about telling the truth. Great job. Let's also try tenacious. This means being very determined and not giving up easily. For example, she is tenacious in her studies, never missing a day. Or, to learn English fluently, you must be tenacious. Say it with me. Tenacious. Again, tenacious. Now in a sentence, He is tenacious when it comes to solving problems. Wonderful. Now here's an important one. Vindicate. This means to clear someone of blame or prove something is correct. For example, the evidence helped vindicate the innocent man, or her success vindicated her decision to study abroad. Say it with me. Vindicate. Again. Vindicate. Now in a sentence, the results vindicated his hard work. Excellent. Let's create a small practice dialogue with these words. She is a tenacious learner. Even though English felt difficult, her scrupulous practice habits helped her improve. People thought she wouldn't succeed, but her success vindicated her efforts. Now it's plausible that she will reach advanced fluency soon. She's no longer notorious for giving up. Instead, she's admired. Now, let's keep going. Another advanced word is ambivalent. This describes having mixed feelings about something. For example, she felt ambivalent about moving to a new city, or I feel ambivalent when I think about speaking English in front of strangers. Say it with me. Ambivalent. Again, ambivalent. Now, in a sentence, he was ambivalent about accepting the new job. Very good. Next is copious. This means a large amount or abundant. For example, she took copious notes during the lecture. Or, you need copious practice to master advanced English vocabulary. Say it with me. Copious. Again, copious. Now, in a sentence, he drank copious amounts of water after running. Excellent. Another word is discern. This means to recognize, notice, or understand something clearly. For example, I could discern a hint of sadness in her voice. Or, learners must discern the difference between similar English words. Say it with me. Discern. Again. Discern. Now, in a sentence, it's hard to discern the details from far away. Great practice. One more powerful word is ephemeral. This means something that lasts only a short time. For example, the beauty of a sunset is ephemeral. Or, motivation can be ephemeral if you don't build strong habits. Say it with me. Ephemeral. Again, ephemeral. Now in a sentence, the excitement was ephemeral and soon faded away. Perfect. Here's a short, reflective exercise. Learning English requires tenacious effort. Motivation can be ephemeral, but diligent habits make it last. When you are scrupulous in practice, you can discern your progress. Sometimes you may feel ambivalent, but copious repetition will vindicate your efforts. Remember, success is always plausible if you stay consistent. The next advanced word I want you to practice is gregarious. This means someone who is very sociable and enjoys being around other people. For example, she is gregarious and loves to attend parties. Or, a gregarious personality can make learning English easier because you practice more with others. Say it with me. Gregarious. Again, gregarious. Now, in a sentence, he is gregarious and makes friends quickly. Excellent. Now let's look at impeccable. This means perfect, without any faults or mistakes. For example, her English pronunciation is impeccable, or he always dresses with impeccable style. Repeat after me. Impeccable. Once more. Impeccable. Now, in a sentence, she gave an impeccable presentation at work. Very good. Another useful word is melancholy. This means a deep feeling of sadness, often without a clear reason. For example, he felt a sense of melancholy as he walked through the old town. Or, sometimes when I miss my hometown, I feel melancholy. Say it with me, melancholy. Again, melancholy. Now in a sentence, the song filled her with melancholy. Wonderful. Next, let's try novice. This describes someone who is new to a skill or activity. For example, she is still a novice at cooking. Or, when I first started English, I was a complete novice. Say it with me, novice. Again, novice. Now, in a sentence, I am no longer a novice in English speaking. Excellent. Another advanced word is obsolete. This means outdated, no longer in use, or unnecessary. For example, typewriters are now obsolete, or some old English expressions have become obsolete. Repeat after me. Obsolete. Once more, obsolete. Now, in a sentence, that technology is obsolete and rarely used today. Great job. Let's create a practice paragraph with these words. When I was a novice in English, I sometimes felt melancholy because I couldn't express myself. But I realized that with practice, my skills improved. Now my pronunciation is almost impeccable. I try to stay gregarious by joining group conversations. I also avoid using obsolete words and focus on the vocabulary people use today. Now, let's keep moving. Another word you should learn is paradox. A paradox is a situation or statement that seems contradictory but may still be true. For example, it's a paradox that the more we learn, the more we realize how little we know. Or, it feels like a paradox that speaking less sometimes communicates more. Say it with me. Paradox. Again, paradox. Now, in a sentence, it's a paradox that silence can be powerful. Very good. Now let's practice quintessential. This means representing the perfect example of something. For example, he is the quintessential English gentleman. Or, tea is the quintessential British drink. Repeat after me. Quintessential. Once more. Quintessential. Now, in a sentence, she is the quintessential hard-working student. Excellent. Another strong word is ravenous. This means extremely hungry or having a strong desire for something. For example, after the long hike, I was ravenous. Or, learners can be ravenous for new English words. Say it with me, ravenous. Again, ravenous. Now, in a sentence, he was ravenous and ate 3 plates of food. Great. Next is scramble. This means to move quickly or to struggle to achieve something. For example, the students scrambled to finish their assignments. Or, I scrambled to find the right English word during the conversation. Say it with me. Scramble. Again, scramble. Now, in a sentence, we had to scramble to catch the bus. Excellent. Let's join these in practice. It's a paradox that even advanced learners sometimes scramble to find the right words. But when you are ravenous for learning, you improve quickly. Tea might be the quintessential example of British culture, but practicing daily is the quintessential habit of successful English learners. Even when you feel melancholy, remember that you are not a novice anymore and your progress is impeccable. The next advanced word I want you to learn is serendipity. This means the unexpected discovery of something good or pleasant by chance. For example, It was pure serendipity that I met my best friend while traveling. Or, finding a great English teacher online was a moment of serendipity. Say it with me, serendipity. Again, serendipity. Now, in a sentence, it was serendipity that I discovered a wonderful cafe while walking. Excellent. Now, let's look at transient. This means temporary, lasting only for a short time. For example, the city has a large transient population of tourists. Or, frustration in learning English is transient. It will pass if you keep practicing. Repeat after me. Transient. Once more. Transient. Now in a sentence, our difficulties are transient, not permanent. Very good. Another word is utopia. This means an imagined perfect world where everything is ideal. For example, some people dream of living in a utopia without problems. Or for many learners, fluency feels like a utopia, but with practice, it becomes real. Say it with me. Utopia. Again, utopia. Now in a sentence, they imagined a utopia where everyone spoke one language. Great job. Next is vigilant. This means being watchful, alert, and careful to notice problems or danger. For example, the guard stayed vigilant throughout the night, or you must be vigilant when listening to native speakers to catch small details. Say it with me. Vigilant. Again, vigilant. Now in a sentence, parents are vigilant about their children's safety. Excellent. Now here's a powerful one. Whimsical. This means playful, unusual, or imaginative. For example, the artist created whimsical paintings filled with bright colors. Or, sometimes children ask whimsical questions that make us smile. Repeat after me, whimsical. Once more, whimsical. Now in a sentence, she decorated her room in a whimsical style. Wonderful. Let's make a short practice reflection. When learning English, frustration is transient. Sometimes serendipity helps you discover a new word in a book or movie. Staying vigilant ensures you notice details. Even whimsical exercises can bring fun into your practice. And little by little, fluency starts to feel less like a utopia and more like reality. Now let's move forward. Another advanced word is zealous. This means showing strong enthusiasm and passion for something. For example, he is zealous about helping others. Or, be zealous about practicing English every day. Say it with me. Zealous. Again, zealous. Now in a sentence. She was zealous in her studies and achieved great results. Very good. Next, let's learn austere. This means very simple, plain, or strict. For example, the teacher had an austere classroom with no decorations, or her lifestyle was austere with few luxuries. Say it with me, austere. Again, austere. Now, in a sentence, the monastery had an austere atmosphere. Excellent. Another important word is conspicuous. This means very noticeable or easy to see. For example, her red dress made her conspicuous in the crowd. Or, mistakes can be conspicuous when you speak, but don't worry, everyone makes them. Say it with me. Conspicuous. Again, conspicuous. Now, in a sentence, the error was conspicuous in the report. Perfect. And let's add dormant. This means inactive for a time, but capable of becoming active again. For example, the volcano had been dormant for years. Or, Sometimes your English skills feel dormant until you practice again. Repeat after me. Dormant. Once more. Dormant. Now in a sentence. Her creativity was dormant until she started painting again. Excellent. Here's a practice exercise combining these words. Sometimes my motivation feels dormant, but when I become zealous again, I find joy in learning. Mistakes can be conspicuous, but they teach me lessons. I don't want an austere learning style. I add whimsical and fun activities, and thanks to serendipity, I often find new resources. Every difficulty is transient if I stay vigilant. The next advanced word is affluent. This describes someone who is wealthy, having a lot of money and resources. For example, she grew up in an affluent neighborhood. Or, learning English is now accessible to people beyond just the affluent class. Say it with me. Affluent. Again. Affluent. Now in a sentence. The city is known for its affluent residents. Excellent. Now let's explore boisterous. This means noisy, energetic, and cheerful. For example, the children were boisterous at the birthday party. Or, the crowd grew boisterous during the football match. Repeat after me. Boisterous. Once more. Boisterous. Now in a sentence. The classroom was boisterous before the teacher arrived. Very good. Another important word is camaraderie. This means a feeling of friendship, trust, and companionship in a group. For example, the soldiers built strong camaraderie during training. Or, joining an English learning group can give you camaraderie and motivation. Say it with me. Camaraderie. Again. Camaraderie. Now in a sentence. There was camaraderie among the students in the class. Wonderful. Next is dexterous. This describes someone skillful with their hands or mind. For example, the dexterous pianist played the piece perfectly. Or, she is dexterous in solving difficult problems quickly. Say it with me. Dexterous. Again. Dexterous. Now in a sentence, he is dexterous at fixing machines. Excellent. Now let's learn eloquence. This is the quality of expressing ideas clearly, beautifully, and persuasively. For example, her eloquence moved the audience. Or, you can develop eloquence in English by practicing daily speaking. Repeat after me. Eloquence. Once more, eloquence. Now in a sentence. The leader spoke with eloquence about the future. Very good. Let's join these in a practice example. In an English learning group, camaraderie keeps everyone motivated. Some students are dexterous at picking up new words. Others grow eloquence by practicing speeches. The atmosphere might become boisterous with laughter, but it is positive. And whether you come from an affluent background or not, English is for everyone. Now let's continue with more advanced words. Frivolous. This means silly, not serious, or unimportant. For example, he spent money on frivolous items. Or, don't waste time on frivolous distractions when you want to study. Say it with me. Frivolous. Again. Frivolous. Now, in a sentence, the complaint was dismissed as frivolous. Excellent. Next is hinder. This means to create difficulties. or obstacles. For example, lack of practice can hinder your English progress, or heavy traffic hindered our journey. Say it with me. Hinder. Again. Hinder. Now in a sentence. Fear of mistakes can hinder your confidence. Great job. Another useful word is idiosyncrasy. This means a unique or unusual habit, feature, or way of behaving. For example, one of her idiosyncrasies is humming while she studies. Or, every learner has their own idiosyncrasies in how they practice English. Say it with me. Idiosyncrasy. Again. Idiosyncrasy. Now in a sentence. His idiosyncrasy is wearing mismatched socks. Wonderful. Now let's practice jubilant. This means feeling extremely happy and joyful. For example, the fans were jubilant after the victory. Or, I felt jubilant when I passed my English exam. Say it with me. Jubilant. Again. Jubilant. Now in a sentence. She was jubilant when she received the award. Excellent. And one more. Keen. This means eager, interested, or having sharp perception. For example, he is keen to improve his English skills. Or, she has a keen sense of observation. Repeat after me. Keen. Again. Keen. Now in a sentence. I am keen on learning new vocabulary every day. Very good. Let's tie them together in a reflection. Sometimes frivolous distractions can hinder your learning, but when you stay keen, your progress grows faster. Every student has an idiosyncrasy in how they study. Some celebrate jubilant moments when they succeed, the camaraderie of learning together, even in a boisterous group, can make the journey joyful and productive. The next advanced word I want you to learn is lucidate. This means to make something clear or explain something in detail. For example, the teacher elucidated the difficult concept so that everyone understood. Or, I try to elucidate my ideas in English to avoid confusion. Say it with me. Lucidate. Again. Lucidate. Now in a sentence. She elucidated her plans for the project. Excellent. Now let's learn. Magnanimous. This describes someone who is very generous and forgiving, especially towards someone less powerful or even towards an enemy. For example, he was magnanimous in victory and congratulated his opponent. Or, being magnanimous in conversations shows maturity. Repeat after me. Magnanimous. Once more. Magnanimous. Now in a sentence. She was magnanimous enough to forgive his mistake. Very good. Another powerful word is nefarious. This means wicked, evil, or criminal. For example, the gang was involved in nefarious activities. Or, spreading lies is a nefarious habit. Say it with me. Nefarious. Again. Nefarious. Now in a sentence. The villain had a nefarious plan. Excellent. Next, let's practice. Obstinate. This means stubborn, refusing to change one's opinion or behavior. For example, he was obstinate and refused to listen to advice. Or, sometimes children can be obstinate when they don't want to study. Say it with me. Obstinate. Again. Obstinate. Now, in a sentence, she remained obstinate even when she was wrong. Wonderful. Another advanced word is pragmatic. This means dealing with things in a realistic, practical way, rather than an idealistic way. For example, she took a pragmatic approach to solving the problem. Or, when learning English, be pragmatic. Set realistic goals and work consistently. Say it with me. Pragmatic. Again. Pragmatic. Now, in a sentence, he gave pragmatic advice about saving money. Excellent. Now, let's join these words together in practice. Even when someone is obstinate, you can be magnanimous and forgive them. Beware of nefarious influences that waste your time. Be pragmatic in your study plans. And when you elucidate your ideas clearly, you will build confidence in English conversations. Let's move on to more. Quell. This means to stop, calm, or end something, often violence, fear, or doubts. For example, the teacher tried to quell the noise, class. Or, deep breathing can quell nervousness before speaking English. Say it with me. Quell. Again. Quell. Now in a sentence, he managed to quell his anger. Excellent. Next is rhetoric. This refers to the art of effective or persuasive speaking and writing. For example, the politician's rhetoric inspired the audience. Or, you can improve your English rhetoric by practicing public speaking. Repeat after me. Rhetoric. Again. Rhetoric. Now in a sentence, his rhetoric was powerful and convincing. Very good. Another advanced word is sagacious. This means wise, having good judgment and insight. For example, she was a sagacious leader who guided her team wisely. Or, a sagacious learner chooses the right methods to improve English. Say it with me. Sagacious. Again. Sagacious. Now in a sentence, his sagacious advice helped me succeed. Excellent. And let's add tirade. This means a long, angry speech of criticism or accusation. For example, the coach gave a tirade after the team lost. Or, she launched into a tirade about unfair treatment. Say it with me. Tirade. Again. Tirade. Now, in a sentence, the manager's tirade shocked the employees. Great. Here's a reflective practice. Sometimes you may face a tirade from someone who is obstinate, but remain magnanimous. Stay sagacious. And use rhetoric carefully. Quell your own nervousness with calm breathing. And remember to be pragmatic. Small daily steps are stronger than big, unrealistic plans. The next advanced word I want you to practice is ubiquitous. This means something that seems to be everywhere at the same time. For example, smartphones are ubiquitous in today's world. Or, English words from movies are ubiquitous in conversations across the globe. Say it with me. Ubiquitous. Again. Ubiquitous. Now in a sentence, social media has become ubiquitous in daily life. Excellent. Now let's learn vicarious. This describes experiencing something through the feelings or actions of another person. For example, She felt vicarious joy when her friend won the competition. Or, watching movies in English gives you a vicarious experience of another culture. Repeat after me. Vicarious. Once more. Vicarious. Now, in a sentence, I lived vicariously through the characters in the book. Very good. Another powerful word is wary. This means being cautious or careful because you don't fully trust a situation. For example, he was wary of strangers, or be wary of false promises when choosing online courses. Say it with me. Wary. Again, wary. Now, in a sentence, she was wary about walking alone at night. Excellent. Next, let's practice yearn. This means to have a strong desire or longing for something. For example, he yearned for freedom, or many learners yearn to speak English fluently. Say it with me. Yearn. Again, yearn. Now, in a sentence, I yearn for the day I can travel and speak confidently. Wonderful. Another advanced word is zenith. This means the highest point, peak, or most successful moment. For example, the empire reached its zenith in the 18th century, or when you achieve fluency, you feel at the zenith of your English journey. Say it with me. Zenith. Again, zenith. Now, in a sentence, the singer was at the zenith of her career. Excellent. Let's combine these words in practice. English has become ubiquitous across the world. Many students yearn to master it and reach the zenith of fluency. Some feel wary of challenges, but watching movies offers vicarious experiences that help. Stay patient and keep practicing, and you'll move closer to your goal. Now, let's keep going. Another useful word is adamant. This means refusing to be persuaded or to change your mind. For example, he was adamant about his decision. Or, she was adamant that she would learn English no matter how difficult it was. Say it with me. Adamant. Now, in a sentence, the teacher was adamant about deadlines. Excellent. Next is belligerent. This means aggressive or hostile. For example, the belligerent customer shouted at the staff, or don't be belligerent when correcting others' mistakes. Say it with me. Belligerent. Again, belligerent. Now, in a sentence, his belligerent tone made everyone uncomfortable. Very good. Another advanced word is candidness. This refers to being open, honest, and straightforward in expression. For example, I appreciated her candidness during the discussion. Or, candidness in feedback helps learners grow. Say it with me. Candidness. Again, candidness. Now, in a sentence, his candidness made the conversation refreshing. Wonderful. Now let's try detrimental. This means causing harm or damage. For example, smoking is detrimental to health, or lack of practice is detrimental to language learning. Say it with me, detrimental. Again, detrimental. Now, in a sentence, negative thinking is detrimental to progress. Excellent. And finally, let's practice epiphany. This means a sudden realization or clear understanding of something. For example, she had an epiphany about how to solve the problem. Or, I had an epiphany that daily practice is the key to fluency. Say it with me. Epiphany. Again, epiphany. Now, in a sentence, he experienced an epiphany while reading the book. Perfect. Here's a short reflection exercise. Sometimes we yearn for progress and suddenly experience an epiphany about what works best. Be wary of detrimental habits and instead embrace candidness in your practice. Don't become belligerent with yourself when you make mistakes. Stay adamant about your goals, and one day you'll reach the zenith of your English journey. The next advanced word I want you to learn is feasible. This means possible, practical, or achievable. For example, it is feasible to learn 10 new words every woo. The plan was not feasible due to lack of resources. Say it with me. Feasible. Again. Feasible. Now in a sentence. Daily short practice is more feasible than studying for 5 hours once a week. Excellent. Now let's learn galvanize. This means to shock or inspire someone into action. For example, the speech galvanized the audience into working harder. Or, seeing progress can galvanize you to practice English even more. Repeat after me. Galvanize. Once more, galvanize. Now in a sentence.